Hello, welcome to Septum Sin versus the World. I'm Kotobuki Jake. Septum will be back here in just a couple minutes, but he wanted me to go ahead and start off things here. As you may or may not be aware, tomorrow is going to be the release of the Oscar nominations for 2018 Oscars for the year 2017. I'm sure some of you already have your eyes glazed over and say you don't care, but we do. We're geeks here. We like, even though we both have a fairly jaundiced view of the Oscars, we follow them, we have fun, we enjoy them. I in particular do, and I unfortunately didn't get to do as much research as I had hoped prior to this show. But I should still be able to. What I want to do here, I've got a list. I've seen, as we covered 2 weeks ago when we did our comments on the films of the year, that, as he called it, the spectacular films of 2017. You should definitely check that out. I think that was a fun little commentary there. We have. I've seen quite a few more, and frankly, in the last 2 weeks since we did that, I've seen quite a few more. I think about 5, maybe 4 or 5, and some high-profile ones at that. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, Dunkirk, It, Tickling Giants, and Mary and the Witch's Flower, and maybe one more. I know he added Mary and the Witch's Flower in that time. So, basically, I thought I would at least give what I personally would have given as the nominees, and with some commentary on what, and hopefully you'll jump in on any areas where you know that there's some definite commentary to be made. And that does not mean pushing Emoji Movie for Best Animated Feature. But, at any rate, I know most of you probably, even if you do follow the Oscars, there's what they call the above-the-line categories and what they call the below-the-line categories. And exactly where the line is does depend a little bit on you. I think generally most people are in agreement that below the line would include sound editing, sound mixing, film editing, visual effects, art direction, costume design, makeup, and then basically all the short films.
Animated is not.
Well,
a little bit more
the debate, I would say, the ones that could be either or would be animated feature, foreign language feature, documentary feature, and cinematography, and the 2 music categories. And then your above the line stuff, you've got the screenplays, the director, the acting awards, and best picture. Personally, I think they're all important, even though I'll admit I have a 10 ear, and it took me years before I even knew what the difference was between sound mixing and sound editing. I flatter myself to think that if I watch a movie, I can tell if it's a contender in those categories. And one reason I mention them, and film editing and production design, is I'm a big booster for animation. I'm a big booster, not just animation in general. I think it's a wonderful medium. I think the Oscars should promote it and reward it. And I think the Academy has its head up its ass about animation. I really do. And they get gypped every single year in multiple categories. So when you see my list, you'll see animation all over. Except in, you won't see it makeup and costume design because, but I guess technically costume design they probably could, but whatever the case, I usually think of that as live action.
Character design.
Character design would be a great Oscar. And I do think they should have an Oscar for best acting in a voiceover role. They could do a male and female. They don't have to differentiate lead and support. But best acting in a voiceover role has been talked about. Mm-hmm. They should do that. And I've said many times there should be best use of music in film. Damn it. But
Finally, baby geniuses can shine.
the first, I will go ahead and get this one out of the way. I'll admit, I ignore short films. Most people have to. Unless you go regularly to film festivals, you've never heard of most of the films in contention. I don't care who you are. And I have one. The only one. Pixar had 2 films this year. Every year, Pixar has released a Pixar short before each film. And they did it with Cars 3. And then they did something stupid and weird. We'll blame Disney more than Pixar. Mm. They put a Disney short that was a spin-off of a Disney movie that was 21 minutes long. Oh, sorry. The Olaf's Frozen Adventure was so controversial, it was removed from Coco before I got to go see Coco. So I haven't seen that short. The only one I've seen is the one that came with Cars 3. Lou was great. It was wonderful. It is a nice little film. It's probably going to get a nod, but they're really good at going indie with the shorts, so it may not get a nod. So that's all I have to say about shorts. I don't care anywhere beyond that.
Well, you don't have anything else, though.
No. The Olaf one might get a nod, but I don't think it will. Anyway, and then I'll just quickly breeze through my nominations for the other clearly below-the-line ones. Mm-hmm. Most of these, I can't comment on the films I haven't seen because there just isn't much buzz about them outside of that. Visual effects is different. Visual effects is something more people talk about, and it might actually be a higher level just because more people talk about the ones they can spot, the ones they notice. But one of the things with visual effects is really good effects often aren't noticeable. You know? That's like, you don't want it to be too flashy. But anyway, so for film editing, Coco, Lady Bird, Thor Ragnarok, Mary and the Witch's Flower, Wind River, I'm going to cite Get Out and Band-Aid as good also-rans. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm starting with my number one, just so you know. For visual effects, Thor Ragnarok, pretty darn good effects. Wonder Woman had great effects. Dunkirk was a good example of where the effects were not supposed to be flashy, but they were solid. Star Wars The Last Jedi, great effects. It's probably going to get an Oscar nod.
Star Wars, really.
Thor, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, and Guardians, one of them's going to get a nod. I doubt more than 2 will. You never know. And Dunkirk might. Dunkirk is poised to possibly sweep the below-the-line categories. So, we'll see. And then 5, I had Spider-Man Homecoming. And Guardians barely missed my top 5. I didn't think the effects were as solid as they could have been. And then I'm going to go ahead and cite Coco, just because it was an impressive film. And it was all CG, so it might be visual effects. Sound mixing and editing. Generally, I consider sound mixing to be more the overall sound. So it's basically syncing. It's making sure that everything lines up. And editing is more sound effects. It's more creating the right sound, the right feel, that sort of thing. And so sound mixing, I tend to go heavy on musicals and animation. But again, movies like Dunkirk, where the overall sound is very important to the feel of the film. And Get Out was another one that I didn't actually put down, but that one might be a good one for sound mixing. I put Coco, Dunkirk, Mary and the Witch's Flower, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, because that soundtrack was phenomenally huge to that film. And Thor Ragnarok, because sound was huge there. Star Wars Last Jedi, Band-Aid, Beauty and the Beast are ones I went ahead and cited for some of the reasons I said above. Sound editing, I put Detroit at number 1. I think Detroit's going to get a little bit of Oscar love, not much, but it's the kind of film where sound editing is likely to be one of its token nods. And because the sound of gunfire, the overall ambient sound, it was huge. Dunkirk is my number 2 for the same reasons. Star Wars The Last Jedi is almost a shoo-in in this category. And then, again, Coco should be a nod. Thor Ragnarok. And I mentioned Mary and the Witch's Flower and Logan. There's a couple other good ones there. Makeup. I still don't know why the Oscars codify in their bylaws that there can only be 3 makeup nominees. It's like, did the makeup category do something to piss off the governors of the Oscars? I don't know. They can only have 3. And then they thumbed their noses at everybody else, giving it to Suicide Squad last year.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and chose 5 because I'm not going to play this 3 crap.
I mean, Norbit actually was a nominee one year.
Yes, and I remember Jon Stewart's comment that proof that the Oscars don't only nominate good films.
Actually, though, when you think about it, when you're talking about the throwaway categories, as far as the sound mixing, what do you think the chances are that Transformers will be up again? They seem to get a nod in that sound department.
Film just did not get much buzz, though. But the Transformers, the year that Transformers, I think it was the first one that had that awesome Linkin Park song.
Yeah.
New Divide should have been up for original song. And what does the Oscars do? Sound mixing, sound editing, and I think it was visual effects. I was like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, go.
So anyway, for makeup, I put Logan at number 1 because the makeup was phenomenal in that one. The makeup, and I think those two are strong contenders. I think it actually is almost a shoo-in in that category, if only because they will want to give it one nod. Thor Ragnarok, again, solid makeup. Detroit, again, solid. Guardians Volume 2. And I'm going to mention Wind River and Star Wars The Last Jedi. Those are all good contenders. And then, costume design. This often goes to films that get almost no Oscar love. And it goes to films that are real flowy dresses and all this kind of stuff. So I think Beauty and the Beast is a shoo-in for this category, if only because they'll want to give it something. And that's my pick for number 1 there. Thor Ragnarok, again, great costuming there. Spider-Man Homecoming, very faithful to the comics for the most part. Except Vulture looked very different, but it wasn't stupid different. It was more, Dunkirk, period piece, very important. Same thing with Detroit. The period clothing in both was solid. And Wind River and Wonder Woman were 2 others I picked as also rans. In the costume category, the one I have not seen that's almost a given, because it's about a guy who makes clothes. Phantom Thread is going to be in this one. It's a given. And Beauty and the Beast is a given. The others, we'll see. And then the last one that's definitely below the line, I think, art direction, production design. Again, animation dominates. I've got Mary and the Witch's Flower at number 1, Coco at 2. It could go either way. Coco should be a shoo-in.
Yeah.
But they always ignore animation in this category.
Coco is going to... Well, actually, it's art direction. Never mind.
Yeah. Dunkirk is a shoo-in here. Thor Ragnarok, not likely to get it, but I'd love to see it. In This Corner of the World is my other animation one that makes the top 5. And then Star Wars The Last Jedi might actually sneak in there. Beauty and the Beast is a strong bet. And Lady Bird might sneak in there. And those were ones I'd put as also rans. Some other possibilities, there's a lot of period films this year, and period films always do well in this category. So, The Post might be a good one. Or again, Phantom Thread, Darkest Hour, possibly. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of period stuff. And so, we'll see how that ends up going. And then to the middle rung, the ones that... We'll start with the one that I have the least to do. The 2 that I have the least to do. Documentary feature and foreign language feature are always a pain in the ass. Foreign language because the rules of the Oscars make no sense. It's not the same calendar year that everything else follows. And it's based on the release in the home country. Each country gets only 1 nominee. So it's extremely unfair to rich, diverse countries like Spain, Japan, Germany, France, Italy, all these ones that have huge film industries. It's extremely unfair to them. And actually, 2 of the 3 I have are both Japanese films. And I have a French one for good measure. But the fact that it does not matter if they've been released in this country at all. Sometimes nominees in this category don't come here for 3 or 4 months after the Oscars. We can't see them. If you really want viewers to want to watch the show, it should be the same calendar year. They should be ones that were released in this country during the calendar year that everything else is going on. And, they should be more open to, good ones. I shouldn't say that, but then Dogtooth. Anyway, so the 3 that I have seen, I saw In This Corner of the World, but I watched it in English, so I'm not going to count it. But the ones that I've seen, Mary and the Witch's Flowers, number 1. After the Storms, number 2. Those are the 2 Japanese ones. And the French film is France. All of those are good films. All of them are solid. All of them are Oscar level. I don't think any of them are in the conversation from what I've heard. But honestly, I can't remember the name of the one that everyone's talking about. I can't really say what the Oscars will nominate in this category. Documentary, I got a little more idea. I've got 3 here, too. And 2 of them are solid Oscar-level films. One of them has a lot of buzz. The other one, not so much. The third one, I've got Tickling Giants, an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, and David Lynch, The Art Life. The David Lynch film, I'm sorry, it's not Oscar level. It shouldn't be nominated. It should not have been an immediate Criterion release.
Well, it's David Lynch.
Yeah, it is. An inconvenient sequel, of course, is the Al Gore pick.
Yeah.
And it's the sequel to An Inconvenient Truth. And when the Inconvenient Truth was huge at the Oscars, it won too. Documentaries don't do that. But this one just doesn't have a lot of buzz behind it. It's good. I thought it was a little bit messier than the first film. They could have tightened it up a bit. And the reason why it's a number 2 on my list is that it wasn't a tighter film. But it's still an extremely important documentary. It's an extremely important topic. And I am more than willing to see it in the conversation this year. I am more than willing to put it forth as one that should be up. I don't think it's likely. Tickling Giants surprised me. It's about Bassem Youssef. That's his name. Bassem Youssef. A surgeon turned comedian who is often known as the Jon Stewart of Egypt. And basically, he started a satirical program called The Show in Egypt that lasted through one unfortunate regime and was unceremoniously snuffed out at the start of the current military regime. It's a really good crash course in recent Egyptian history. So if you've been hearing a little bit but haven't really looked into it, it's a good movie to watch to get brushed up on what's going on. It's also, unfortunately, a very good movie to watch given what's going on in our own country.
Yeah.
And it's pretty entertaining. It gets sad and melancholy towards the end, but it's entertaining film. Great soundtrack, a great score. It was really worth watching. It's gotten some buzz. I'll be shocked if it gets an Oscar nod, but it could. But the one that's almost guaranteed an Oscar nod, I have not gotten to see it, but I've heard so much about it. There's one out there called Faces Places, which is a 90-year-old French filmmaker and I think, 20-year-old Banksy-style street artist teamed up together to do a road trip art show. That's probably the best way to put it. And it's supposed to be really good. It's probably going to get a nod, but I haven't gotten to see it yet. Then we'll go ahead and do animated features since we're doing the features. We might as well. And this is one that I did get a chance to look into. my list is exactly 5 films. 3 of them are very deserving of this nomination. One of them arguably so. One of them arguably not so much. Coco, In This Corner of the World, Mary and the Witch's Flower, the Lego Batman movie, and Cars 3. But there are a few others. I think Coco's going to win. It's guaranteed a nod. It's going to win. Mary and the Witch's Flower is likely. Because Studio Ponoch was the successor to Studio Ghibli, there is that name recognition. People are going to see it visually, think Ghibli. It might have a shot. In This Corner of the World, I'd like to say it has a shot because it's out there, it's available, it's cheap, it's easy to see. But no, it's not going to. Anime doesn't. Academy is racist toward Asians. Not going to happen. Lego Batman movie and Cars 3, not likely. Yeah. Lego movie didn't even get in this category, so I doubt the Batman movie will. I don't think Ninjago movie will. But I actually found a few. Ferdinand, I hate to say it because, frankly, it doesn't interest me. But Ferdinand is likely to get in there. It's gotten a lot of buzz. The other 3 that I wrote down are G-Kids releases. And it's important to know that G-Kids is really good at getting its films to Oscar voters. They either haven't pushed anime or this is evidence of my contention that the Oscars hate Asians, because G-Kids has done a lot of anime releases. And this year they released The Napping Princess, which in a perfect world would be a contender. But the 2 that are likely to be contenders is a French film based on a Brothers Grimm story called The Girl Without Hands. So, let's back up a minute. A French film based on a Brothers Grimm story. Yeah, it's probably going to get a nod. But the one that probably I'd love to see get a nod, that I've heard a lot about, that is very popular, it was up for a Golden Globe, there's a film called The Breadwinner that is supposed to be really good. And it's probably the guaranteed 3rd nomination. There's a few other long shots. The Boss Baby actually got a Golden Globe nod. I think it's a long shot.
Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants. I know someone who loves that movie. Yeah. But I think the most likely look for this category is going to be Coco, Mary and the Witch's Flower, The Girl Without Hands, The Breadwinner, and Ferdinand. That seems likely.
The Breadwinner, but not Breadwinners. You don't want to confuse it with that terrible animation show.
Right. And then we'll go ahead and do cinematography.
Actually,
what's up?
What about A Silent Voice?
Not a chance in hell. I wish it had one. The movie is gorgeous. It's Kyoto Animation. They're powerhouse in the animation industry, but barely known outside of anime circles in North America. It's a gorgeous looking film. The manga was brilliant. I loved it. But the film it got a limited festival release here, like a event release here. A super limited Oscar release. It's not backed by G-Kids. It's not backed by Disney. Not much chance it has. And the Sword Art Online one, forget it. That one has no chance. But anyway, cinematography, Thor Ragnarok is my number 1. Guardians Volume 2. Dunkirk is my number 3. Wonder Woman, Wind River. All of these are gorgeous films with really impressive work. I put Coco at the next level, and I put France. France is black and white, and black and white can be gorgeous in the right hands, and this film is. It's a gorgeous film. So I think that's a really good possibility, but most likely it'll go to big epic ones.
Epic movie.
No. I think Phantom Thread's probably going to sneak in there. I do think Dunkirk's guaranteed a cinematography nod. We'll see. We'll see those. And then music is the next one in the mid-level. Mm-hmm. Music, we've got some fun ones. Original score. I spent some time yesterday going through the scores of the movies that I've watched. And so they're fairly fresh in my brain. And Mary and the Witch's Flower score is by Takatsugu Muramatsu. And Michael Giacchino's score for Coco are both phenomenal scores. They definitely should be front runners in this category. Coco has a good chance. Mary and the Witch's Flower, not so much. Again, in most years, animation would dominate this category because animated films have great music. I don't know why the Academy doesn't see it that way. I actually had Tickling Giants by Paul Tyan at my third spot. Number 4 is one that probably will get it. Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL's score for Wonder Woman has gotten a lot of buzz.
Very powerful score.
It's gotten a lot of buzz. And people are saying that Wonder Woman has like the best theme since Batman or something like that. You know, I don't know about that, but it's memorable. And that's saying something for superhero movies. Yeah. In This Corner of the World by Cotringo is my 5th. And then I had a couple of left field contenders. John Bryan's score for Lady Bird and Benjamin Wallfish's score for It. It has a nice, creepy, simple, creepy score. It'd be cool to see that up for an Oscar. I haven't seen the other movies, so I can't comment on their music. But Steven Spielberg movies always have great music, so I think The Post is a good possibility. P.T. Anderson always surrounds himself with good music, so Phantom Thread has an original score. That could be a good one. No, Woody Allen almost never uses original scores. I was going to say Wonder Wheel, but again, use of music in film. But anyway, for original song, the one that not only is guaranteed a nod, but is probably going to win, is the song that's used repeatedly throughout Coco. It's called Remember Me. It's by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, who I believe is the songwriting duo behind the Frozen songs. And just like with Frozen, Disney has submitted only one song to make sure there are no split votes. I think that's stupid. But on the other hand, I see the sense in it.
Yeah.
I personally cited both Proud Corazon and Un Poco Loco as fun songs that should be in the running. But Remember Me will get it. My number 2 is Rain. Written by Shinichi Nakajima, Saori Fujisaka, and Tadashi Fukase from Mary and the Witch's Flower. It's an absolutely gorgeous ballad, plays over the end credits. I loved it. It's probably my favorite song of the year, but it doesn't have much chance to get a nod. Love and Lies from Band-Aid. I want to see Band-Aid get a nod, but I'm not holding my breath. But Love and Lies was a fun song, and it was the only complete song on the soundtrack, frankly. Truth to Power. I hate to say it. What's her name? One Republic, one whatever they are, some boy band, did the theme song. It's actually a good song. And I'd love to see it nominated. And the music from the previous film was the Melissa Etheridge song that won. So it'd be nice to see it. And then I got a song from Gifted called This Is How You Walk On. That was a good song. I enjoyed it. It Ain't Fair by The Roots is from Detroit. I like the song, but it's 6 freaking minutes long. But it has a good chance. I think the Academy will want to reward Detroit. This song is probably its strongest shot outside of the sound categories. And there were a couple others I thought about citing too, but those are the main ones. And now we're up to the big ones, and I guess now you may have a few more opinions at this point, right? Up to the... start with the screenplays, which I got to start doing a little bit of looking about for this, but frankly, I'm not positive how many of the frontrunner films are original and how many are adapted. This has always been a sticking point for me, and my personal list of adapted screenplays is heavy on comic adaptations, but, you know, screw it. They were good. Adapted screenplay. I've got at number 1, Eric Pearson, Craig Collin, Christopher Yost for Thor Ragnarok. Awesome screenplay. James Gunn at number 2 for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Getting away from American comics, we have Sunao Katabuchi and Chie Uratani's screenplay for In This Corner of the World, based on the manga In This Corner of the World by Fumio Kono. Number 4, Jonathan Goldstein, John Francis Daly, John Watts, Christopher Ford, Chris McKenna, and Eric Summers for Spider-Man Homecoming. I had no idea John Francis Daly co-wrote that. One of the co-stars of Freaks and Geeks. That's just awesome. And then 5, Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green for Logan. I also cited Riko Sakaguchi and Hiromasa Yonebayashi's adaptation of Mary Stewart's The Little Broomstick, which was Mary and the Witch's Flower, and Chase Palmer, Kerry Joji Fukunaga, and Gary Dauberman's adaptation of Stephen King's It.
I was going to say it needed to be up there.
Those are some very interesting adaptations. I'm willing to wager that... I want to say The Post is an adapted screenplay, but I can't remember. And I want to say I read Darkest Hour was, but I'm sorry, I'm having trouble thinking of adapted ones that I have not seen. But some of these movies are going to be up for screenplay. I'm just not sure what category to put them in.
I'm pretty sure that it will be up for adapted screenplay.
I think there's a possibility. People, I mean, again, the Academy...
It's had a lot behind it.
I think the Academy will want to reward it. Makeup is the most likely category, but screenplay is a possibility. And then for original, this year is notable in that I have a lot of original screenplays near the top of my list. That's actually rare. Most of the time, the best films are dominated by adaptations. But this year, I've got a lot of original ones near the top. And I can say some of the ones that are coming out. I know Martin McDonagh's screenplay for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is original.
Oh, I know that's going to be up there.
I'm pretty sure P.T. Anderson's Phantom Thread, because he writes most of his stuff. I know There Will Be Blood was an adaptation, but I think most of his stuff is original. So I'm not sure. Most of Woody Allen's stuff is original, and Wonder Wheel is probably well written. But the ones that are, 3 Billboards is guaranteed a nod, I think. But some of the ones I've cited are actually likely. My first one, I've got Adrian Molina and Matthew Aldrich for Coco. Great screenplay. Greta Gerwig at number 2 for Lady Bird. That's a strong probability. Actually, both of those could be nominees. But the one that I think that's a given out of the ones I've cited, I actually think Jordan Peele is guaranteed a nod for Get Out. I think it's the strongest possibility Get Out has at an Oscar nomination, and it's a great screenplay. It really is. It's a great screenplay, very well written, and Peele might be a long shot for Best Director, but he's a guaranteed for screenplay. Taylor Sheridan's Wind River is a possibility, but the wind got taken out the sails of that one early on. You see what I saw there. And then for number 5, I got Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani's semi-autobiographical The Big Sick, which is also a possibility because The Big Sick was very, very popular. It got a lot of buzz, and this is the category where it has the strongest shot. I also cited Zoe Lister-Jones for Band-Aid and Mark Bowl for Detroit. I think Mark Bowl, he's been up a couple times. Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30. He and Catherine Bigelow make a great team. But Detroit didn't get as much buzz as I expected, so that's kind of iffy. Anyway, for the director... Personally, I think director is probably one of the most important, but people care more about actor and actress. Yeah. My number 1 vote with a bullet, Taika Waititi for Thor Ragnarok. He was freaking brilliant with that film. But I would love to see a female win, and Greta Gerwig did a great job with Lady Bird. She really did. She did a phenomenal job.
She might actually go. I think this is going to be the year
Gerwig will get a nod.
That women start taking home the gold. I think this is where the Me Too movement's going to shine as we're going to award women something good.
Well, again, in my top 12, I've had 4. I personally ranked 4 films in my top 12 that were directed by women. Catherine Bigelow for Detroit, Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig. Patty Jenkins was Wonder Woman, and then Zoe Lister-Jones with Band-Aid. And of the bunch, Patty Jenkins has a shot at a nomination. And Greta Gerwig is almost guaranteed a nomination. Catherine Bigelow has a shot, but it's a long shot, and I don't think Band-Aid just doesn't have the recognition. But again, there's a lot of women starting to do stuff, yeah. And again, Gerwig's almost guaranteed a nod here. I don't know that she'll win, but she's guaranteed a nod, and she could win. It'd be cool if she does. But so I've got those two, Taika Waititi and Greta Gerwig. James Gunn for Guardians Volume 2 at number 3, followed by Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman, and Taylor Sheridan for Wind River. And I also want to cite Lee Unkrich and Adrian Molina for Coco, Zoe Lister-Jones for Band-Aid, and Jordan Peele for Get Out. Mm-hmm. And Peele is a long shot in this category, but again, they might want, it might not be the most PC thing in the world to say, but they might want to give it to a black dude, so that's, and Get Out, just got so much buzz, and it is a great film.
I would love to see it get actual, other than just a nod, I would like to see it be awarded for what the difference is.
The others that I noted, these are all films I really want to see, and I'm ticked that I didn't get to see them. The others who are likely, P.T. Anderson for Phantom Thread is a very likely contender. Steven Spielberg has not gotten the love from Oscar lately that he used to, but The Post has gotten a lot of buzz, and he could get a nod. Martin McDonagh might be in the running for the first time for three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It is getting so much praise. Winning awards right and left. And McDonagh's previous films, the Oscars loved In Bruges. They gave him a screenwriting nod, but everyone was raving about it. Personally, I thought Seven Psychopaths was underrated, but I loved it. And then Guillermo del Toro has an Oscar history too, and The Shape of Water is getting tons of buzz. So that could be a good solid contender too. And then, were there any I missed there, you think?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. And now the acting. Okay. Supporting actor. My supporting categories are kind of a mixed bag right now. I got a couple solid ones and a couple, The most solid one by far that I have right now is Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. She does a great job. She does a great job, and she is guaranteed a nomination. In fact, it's either I think most forecasters probably have it as a 2-horse race between her and Allison Janney for I, Tonya. And both of them are guaranteed nominations. My number 2, I loved, and it's debatable whether it was supporting or lead, but I loved Cate Blanchett in Thor Ragnarok. I thought she was just great. And Tessa Thompson was almost as good. Both of them in Thor Ragnarok, they get the second 2 categories. And then I have Catherine Keener for Get Out. The parents, played by Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, they did a great job. They're great actors. And Keener has an Oscar history, so she's a long shot contender for Get Out, actually. Holly Hunter for The Big Sick. She did a good job. And these were not necessarily on the same level, but I wanted to cite them nonetheless. Lucy Davis stole every scene she was in Wonder Woman. She did a great job. And Laura Harrier did a great job in Spider-Man Homecoming. So those were worth mentioning. And the girl, I don't remember the actress, but the girl who played Bev in It probably deserves a nod as well. There were some really good. As far as the ones I've not seen, like I said, Allison Janney's guaranteed a nod. What were a couple of the other supporting actresses? I could mostly think of lead ones off the top of my head. Okay, so for supporting actor, my number 1 is Gil Birmingham for Wind River. He did a great job. He doesn't have much screen time. He's the same guy that put up with Jeff Bridges in Hell or High Water, but in this one he did a great job. Michael Keaton, Spider-Man Homecoming. It is one of Keaton's best performances.
Yeah.
He really is. He did a great job.
But not the first Birdman that he's
No, it's not. I still can't believe he didn't win for Birdman, but it was so close. Then I got Tracy Letts as the father in Lady Bird. He did a great job there. John Boyega. John Boyega was everywhere this year. He starred as Finn in the Star Wars movie. He had a... what was the other one that he was in? I knew I was going to forget it. But the one that I cited him for in Detroit. There were some great performances in Detroit. Boyega was one of them. And I think that he has a shot at representing for Detroit. It's a very long shot. But he has a shot at a nomination in this category. And then, like I said, Bradley Whitford, Get Out, he was really good in that movie. It was one of his best roles. And then I cited two other screen stealers, Jacob Batalon in Spider-Man Homecoming and Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok. Both of them were having so much fun with those roles. They just did such a good job, and they really deserved to get some nod. The one that I know right off the top of my head that's guaranteed to get a nomination, and from everything I've heard is going to win, is Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project. He has gotten so much buzz for that. I don't recall offhand if Sam Rockwell's performance in Three Billboards is lead or support, but he has also gotten a ton of buzz and is likely to get a nomination. Whether it's lead or support, he'll get one. Yeah. And I think Woody Harrelson is supporting in that movie. He could be a shot, too.
Woody Harrelson's always a good bet.
He's great. He is great. Okay, now we got for Best Actress. Saoirse Ronan is guaranteed a nod for Lady Bird. And she is probably the person to beat. She does a wonderful job. She has an Oscar history. This would be her third nomination following Atonement in Brooklyn. Every one of her performances has been spot on that I've seen. And yeah, she was awesome in Lady Bird. She easily number one. Number two, I got Zoe Lister-Jones for Band-Aid. Not likely to get an Oscar nod, but that was a heck of a performance. Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman. She's great. Could be a long shot contender. Bit of a long shot. Zoe Kazan for The Big Sick. Did a great job. Long shot contender. And even though I was underwhelmed by the movie and hated the ending, Salma Hayek was wonderful in Beatriz at Dinner. And she's a very talented actress, and there was a lot of buzz around that film, so maybe she's a long shot. I also went ahead and mentioned Kate Mara for Megan Levy, and there were a couple others, and I wanted to definitely cite Daphne Keane for Logan. She's definitely a potential someone to watch. Yeah. But the one in this category I've not seen, who Saoirse Ronan probably needs to be looking over her shoulder for, is Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. She's a phenomenal actress in the first place, and supposedly one of her best roles. Also, Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water is a very strong contender. And incidentally, I think Octavia Spencer was a supporting role in that film. That could be a possibility. Are there any actresses I'm forgetting that are likely? Oh, Meryl Streep for The Post. She's Meryl Streep. She's going to get a nod. It's a given.
Actually, with actress, we're still be more supporting actress, but what about the woman who played the villain in Golden Circle?
Oh, Julianne Moore?
I
didn't even think about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was great. She was all sunshine and daisies and cyanide and... Oh, man, it was great. Julianne Moore is a brilliant actress. She has an Oscar history, but I can't see them giving Kingsman that. But that would be so awesome. And then actor. Okay, for Best Actor. My number one is actually James McAvoy for Split. The dude plays 23 roles.
Yeah.
And does it well. Most actors can't do that. Now, he does overplay a few of the roles, but just the way he shifts from one to the other, it's brilliant. And the film overall was, it was all right. But his performance, he should at least get a nomination. Next up, I have Jeremy Renner, always solid actor, very solid actor, has an Oscar history. Wind River was great, and this is one of its better chances at a nod, but kind of a long shot. Chris Hemsworth for Thor Ragnarok, yeah, it was more fun than anything, but he's made that role his own. Just like the next one, Hugh Jackman for Logan. He made that his own. And I could almost see Oscar giving that one a nod.
I'd like to see that, because that was really supposed to be his final role as that character.
Yeah. And it could be. It's a long shot, but it could occur. Mm-hmm. And then Sam Elliott for The Hero. The Hero was a flawed movie. It doesn't have a lot of name recognition. It's not likely to get it, but this was Sam Elliott's role. I mean, really, he nails it. And then I put Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out. He's a long shot contender, but he is a contender. And then Tom Hiddleston for Thor Ragnarok. I mean, come on, Loki, he's brilliant. But this one, though, you're talking about swan songs. This is the year where Daniel Day-Lewis has announced his retirement. Yeah. And supposedly he's brilliant in Phantom Thread.
So that's a possibility.
But it's not a walk-on role for him. Because Gary Oldman has been cleaning up playing Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. So those two, that's some tough competition for anyone. I've also got James Franco for The Disaster. He has a shot at a nomination. The Disaster Artist has gotten a lot of buzz. It's not a strong shot.
With the recent controversy, I'm pretty sure they're going to knock him off.
That's true, and it's unfortunate, especially because his reaction has been much more mature than a lot of the ones out there. But yeah, this whole controversy, and that's another thing. Everything we're saying could be thrown right out the window because of all this stuff with the controversy.
Yeah, any one of these people could be pointed out for something, and then they're out.
Or there could just be little elements that are related to it that we just, the other. I want Tom Hanks is a possibility for The Post, but again, for some reason, the Oscar doesn't seem to love him anymore. He also was great as a supporting actor. He was a great villain in The Circle. He could be a good one for support, but no, they
hated. Everybody hated The Circle for some reason.
I didn't. I liked it.
Oh, okay, everybody but you.
And then there's I know there's a couple other big actors that I'm not thinking of right offhand. Oh, and again, Margot Robbie for actress for I, Tonya. That's another one that we forgot to mention that would be a good one, or a likely one, I think. And then, okay, for Best Picture, this is the big one. This one most people care about.
Dun, dun, dun.
And another thing, we have no idea how many there will be because of the freaking rules. It can be anywhere from 5 to 10. I think they changed the rules, but I don't remember what the exact change was. I always do a list of 10. Screw the Oscars. I'm going to do a list of 10.
And then some.
And then I'll mention a few. Okay. Coco, easily, number 1. Best film of the year. Lady Bird, number 2. Easily, second best film of the year. Kono Sekai no Katasumi ni. In this corner of the world. Number 3. Thor Ragnarok, number 4. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, number 5. Mari to Majo no Hana, Mary and the Witch's Flower, number 6. Wind River, number 7. Wonder Woman, number 8. Band-Aid, number 9. Umiyori mo Mada Fukaku, After the Storm. One I haven't even mentioned tonight is my number 10. And then I've got Logan and Detroit at 11 and 12. So there's some really, really, really good, solid ones. Of the ones I did not mention, the one that has a chance, possibly, is Get Out. I don't think Last Jedi has a chance.
I was going to say, that's a long list.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's my full list.
Oh, okay. That's your full list of films.
Yeah, that's my full list, all the way down to the ones that don't have a shot.
Actually, I do believe 3 Billboards. That is going to have. That'll have a huge chance.
Well, I have a list here to the right. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is guaranteed a nod.
Yeah, that's gonna get
so is Phantom Thread and The Shape of Water and Call Me by Your Name. Mm-hmm. Oh, and incidentally, Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name is one of those possible for Best Actor. Darkest Hour and The Florida Project are more iffy. The Post is a little more likely. And of the ones that I said, Lady Bird is a given. But the others are iffy. Wonder Woman is actually a possibility, but it's iffy. Same thing with Logan. And Detroit, very long shot. Coco should be a shoo-in. But again, the Academy doesn't like animation for some reason.
I don't think any of the animated ones are going to get... Coco, I think, has the best shot, but I don't think any of them will get it, personally.
And I don't know why the Academy won't... Even one of the reasons why they expanded the field in the first place was WALL-E. WALL-E and The Dark Knight had so many backers. Yeah. So many people were pissed that they were not up for Best Picture that the Academy the next year expanded the field. So, an animated feature is part of the reason. And yet, since then, Up, Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
Is that it? Maybe. Did Inside Out didn't even get it.
Keep in mind, though, that animated feature was created by the Academy in order to prevent stuff like this from happening. Because they basically... Because people were so mad with them that they had to acknowledge Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And then they realized, okay, we're going to have to start acknowledging these animated films.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our way of acknowledging them. Without acknowledging them, we'll give them their own category.
Now, they've frequently done it in original song. But that's really the only major one. And even there, it's usually 1 or 2 a year. And then you have really great ones. The other night, I rewatched Shaun the Sheep movie, which did get a nod for animated feature. Should have gotten a nod for Best Original Song, because Feels Like Summer is a wonderful song. Yeah. It plays throughout the film and is a big part of the film. And they gave it to that insipid Sam Smith song. Man. And not only that, there was that wonderful Priscilla Ahn song from when Marnie was there. And even getting away from animated films, I think McFarland USA could have been in the running, because that song, Juntos, was great. And they gave it to that freaking Sam Smith song. Even when they had double egg on their face, because one, they set it up. They thought Lady Gaga was going to win. They had everything set up for that, and it didn't go to her.
Yeah.
And then dumbass Sam Smith comes out and talks about being the first gay to ever win an Oscar. I'm like, dude.
No.
If you're going to crow about making history, make sure you're making history first. Dumbass. But anyway.
So that's the list.
Yeah.
And we will see soon enough who will get the nod, who will be left in the cold. And we will be back here next week to do an analysis. Our pickup video will be delayed because of this, because I'm only going to do one video per.
Right.
I've got to upload this quickly, so you won't see much editing on this video. Future ones you will see, because I'll have time to do some editing work. But I'm going to go ahead and get to uploading.
And also we want to say, certainly, if you have your own opinions or your own suggestions, by all means, put some comments down. Give us your own top 10. I'd love to see,
I've watched next to nothing this year.
Right.
So...
well, you got, 13, 14?
Yeah.
And some good ones.
Some good ones. But
not all, but some. All right. Enjoy.
So, subscribe, like, share. We'll see you on the next one.